In the 1930s, 9 out of 10 rural homes were without electric service. Farmers milked cows by hand in the dim light of kerosene lanterns. Cooking was done with a wood stove and laundry with a washboard. For many years, power companies ignored the rural areas of the nation. In the early 1930s, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt took office when Americans were still reeling from the impacts of the Depression. The president was a champion for agriculture and farmers. It didn't take long for his advocacy for rural power to become apparent. In 1933, the Tennessee Valley Authority Act was passed, allowing the TVA board to construct transmission lines to serve farms and small villages that were not otherwise supplied with electricity at reasonable rates. Morris Cook, a veteran of public power and rural electrification, further made the case to President Roosevelt that rural America, and most importantly, farmers, needed power. On May 11, 1935, President Roosevelt signed an executive order establishing the Rural Electrification Administration. For Heartland Power, our beginnings 75 years ago trace back to Cedar Valley REC, which along with Winnebago REC consolidated in 1998 to become Heartland Power Cooperative. The first section of Cedar Valley REC line was energized on November 22, 1939, and the first farm on Winnebago REC's lines was energized on January 3, 1940.
Growing up, we were one of the fortunate ones that had a 32-volt electric plant here, but the batteries were about shot on it, and my mother signed up for the REC when it came through, but she wanted to use up the remaining life of those 32-volt batteries, so we didn't get our electricity here until in 1940.
Billing for electricity was different when the lights first came on. There was a minimum fee for 40 kilowatt hours. At the end of the billing month, it wasn't uncommon for consumers to use less than that amount. Today, Heartland Power's average residential member uses approximately 1,600 kilowatt hours each month.
And I think the light bill was about $5 when it first came about. Couldn't find that. And in 1950, it had gone up to $10.50.
The cooperative's founders had a pioneering mindset and knew that if there was an adequate supply of low-cost power, farmers could produce even more on their farms. Greater production could lower the cost of the crops, saving everyone in the long run.
Electricity to the farmers probably was the biggest helpful thing for many, many years. We hadn't had running water or milking machines and all kinds of things like that the town people had.
But it was nice to have lights in the barn to chore and not have to carry a lantern.
By the 1950s and 60s, the number of cooperative customers and the average kilowatt-hour usage were growing at rapid rates. Distribution lines needed to be beefed up, and additional generation and transmission infrastructure was needed. The cooperatives began a partnership with wholesale power supplier Heartland Power Cooperative to ensure the expanding needs of member owners would be met long into the future. Power quickly became a necessity for rural Iowans, and when it went out, such as in 1966, one of the worst ice storms in history, line crews were counted on to restore the conveniences people had come to rely on.
It's appreciated what you guys do out there, always out in the worst weather.
Over the years, perhaps no employee group has seen greater changes in the electric cooperative industry than the line crews.
We used to take in, the lineman would go up the pole and we'd have a groundman and we'd have to pull the transformers up by hand. So actually, maybe the lineman had it a little easier going up the pole than staying on the ground because you had to pull that transformer up to the guy. I really notice the equipment they got now on it. It's really nice to see that the guys got this equipment. It's the lineman's job. It is hard work, and you try to do it safely, and we took a lot of pride, and I think these guys do too, in make sure if we had an outage, we tried to get it done as quick as we could and as safe as we could.
Ingrained in the cooperative business philosophy is a priority to work together to serve the best interests of member owners. When Winnebago REC and Cedar Valley REC came together to consolidate and form Heartland Power 16 years ago, the employees and directors led the effort to unite.
No, I thought it went very smoothly. Everybody kind of knew, and the boards worked together beforehand. And also, I do believe, you know, when Jerry was here, you know, it just went so smooth.
Through our economic development program, we work hard to attract new businesses to the area. We're focused on improving the quality of life of our member owners and the economic and social well-being of the region. Particularly in the past 2 decades, Heartland Power has played key roles in several important development projects in north central Iowa through financial support, energy assistance, economic development incentive rates, and efficiency incentives. 75 years from when the first poles were set in the ground and the first lines were strung, Heartland Power now serves nearly 6,000 commercial, industrial, farm, and residential services. Keeping the lights on and serving member owners remains the cornerstone of our business.
The member was the first concern of not only the board but all you employees too. And as far as I know, why that's still the way it is.